wanted to make sure that anyone who would like to join or anyone who would like to observe this hearing can. We stream them live to YouTube. Last thing I need to do is just read through our hearing script. This basically just covers the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll jump right into it. So this is the December 8th, 2021 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the City of Cincinnati, and I'll preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20210170. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing unless a party is opted to submit evidence or testimony in the form of writing prior to this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. If there were anyone here from the public, they would have an opportunity to speak after the applicant had presented its case. I'll give our zoning plans examiner, Trey Sheldon, an opportunity to provide any testimony that you would like. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant shall have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. So for our purposes here today, guys, I'll just, however the four of you want to orient this presentation, it can be one of you or all of you that contribute some testimony to this. It's completely up to you. However you think is best for me to understand the project and why this zoning relief is appropriate and why I should grant it. Is totally your call. After all present, I'll give Trey an opportunity to testify as well, then go back to you guys for any closing remarks or response to Trey's comments. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony or documents. That's generally evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who's not here at the hearing today. In the event of any technical difficulties with our video conferencing technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those issues on the fly. But to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with the hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing, and that'll be at my discretion. Okay. Last thing is to just swear on all of our witnesses. If you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, doing anything other than just strictly observing here today, then you need to be sworn in. And so if that is you, if you could raise your right hand, I need everyone to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes. I do. Yes.
Okay. So I have, just for the record, I have the Mike Fremming, Jay Studer, and Henry McDonald who are sworn, as well as Trey Sheldon. Mr. Voles, if you want to testify, we'll get you sworn in later. Okay, who's going to be taking the lead here on the presentation of the applicant's case?
I think I will be. That's Mike.
Okay. Mike, the floor is yours.
We're the design firm, Studer Residential Design, that is working with Henry on this project. What we're looking for is zoning relief in the cumulative excavation of the site. Because of the severity of the slope of the site, we can't meet the maximum 8-foot requirement for the hillside district. So we're asking for relief in that area because of the amount of excavation that's going to have to happen on the site to get the house on the site. We have attached to the application a set of drawings, and I don't know if looking at the drawings would be the best way to give an impression of what's happening on that site.
We do have we have a PDF we can share if it's allowed to. We're allowed to do that.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'd say start with, well, maybe the site plan. As you can see from the site plan, the grade at the front of the lot is at 532. At the back of where we're proposing to put the house, we're at 550. So because of the rise in the lot, we have to have more than an 8-foot foundation just to accommodate the rise in the space. There is a section that's shown in our plans. We can go to that next. It's an elevation, side elevation section, which shows approximately how we're planning on setting this house to the site. Now, because of the maximum slope of the driveway, working at a 532 elevation, we gain a little bit of space there, but within the building, we're going to step up 4 feet from the garage into the rear of the house and then base that on a 10-foot foundation, but that still doesn't get us to even with the grade at the back of the house. We're looking for a 14-foot wall at the back of the house, a 4-foot drop through the house, and then there's a 30-inch frost wall at the front. So we're ultimately looking at about, I think 17 feet is the total excavation. I'm sorry, 19 feet is the total excavation that's going to be required from the front of the house to the back of the house. And since the zoning code for the hillside only allows 8 feet, we're looking for 11 foot of relief in that area. Now, the house has been designed as shallow as we possibly can to accommodate the rooms that the owner is requesting. And he has purchased 2 lots and combined them so that we have a little bit of room to get relief of and approximately a 14-foot foundation at the back of the house. And that's the reason why we're looking for the relief from the zoning restrictions.
Okay.
Do you have any questions so far?
None so far.
Okay. I don't know if we need to go through the responses that we put into the application, or if you've been able to review that, the section 6 of reasons why we're trying to ask for relief. I've already kind of explained the excavation that's required just to put a house, any house on that lot. It's going to have to require a front entry garage. Because of where we're placing it, we shouldn't have to have any issues with any severe cuts in the lot other than right at the foundation. We're not planning any retaining further up in the hillside. There's a little bit of retaining on the side of the house, a 4-foot wall for a egress window. And then at the driveway, just because of the difference from the maximum grade we can have for the driveway and the existing grade, we will probably have about a 4-foot retaining wall at the house, but it will be gradually grading down to nothing as we get to the sidewalk. One of the other reasons we are putting a step in the house as you go from the garage to the basement, but the house is designed to be somewhat accessible for possibly for a parent for Henry. So we're putting an elevator in, and by creating that 4-foot separation, we're trying to limit the number of stops on the elevator to 4 stops. So the design incorporates some work with the site to try and bring the basement floor up in the back so we don't have so much of a cut in the back of the lot. But cumulatively, we still end up with a 19-foot cut into the lot. I think that covers most of the general information.
Okay, great. Anything else right now?
I don't think so, unless there's questions about something specific. Obviously, questions about anything.
Sure. Well, did Mr. McDonald or Mr. Balls want to add anything to the presentation so far?
No, I'm good.
Okay, great. Trey, why don't you jump in if there's anything you wanted to add, and then I'll fire up some questions.
Sure. Well, first I'd like to point out that this completely complies with the maximum building envelope. David, you'll find that this house, while I believe designed by a different team, is somewhat similar to a house 2 doors down that you just approved earlier, which was at 4112. 4112 was part of a Peter McGarry project at 4112 Eastern. So basically, there's just one little sliver lot separating the 2 of them. And it's very similar. That house also complied with the building envelope, but needed less relief for the cut and fill. And I'm going to share my screen here for a minute. Let me bring this over. You guys see that?
No.
No.
Not yet.
I'm sorry, I didn't hit it then. Sorry.
There we go.
It's showing now?
Just a sliver of the top of your web browser there.
Oh, shoot.
No, we got it. That's it. That's it. All right.
It's showing the topography here.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can see my cursor. Okay, excellent.
Yes.
So David, essentially these two houses are very similar kind of footprint to them that you approved in for 4112. But as you can see, the topography changes such that these lines of declination come a little bit closer to Eastern. The Studer design team was dealing with a lot that has declination or basically slope that's closer or further south toward Eastern than the one that you did that you had approved for 4112 Eastern. So it makes them, they've still stepped it, the foundation, but as Mike Mr. Firming pointed out, in order for them to get an elevator to all the different floors, they couldn't step that back part up higher. In order for someone to exit there or enter an elevator. And so essentially because of the steepness of the hill, they had to have a greater cut than the 4 feet, the total of 12, but the 4 feet of relief that was granted for 4112. But otherwise, they're quite similar. One other siting thing that I'd like to point out, let me see if I can pull up the site plan again. Is that screen sharing that now?
No, it's still the cages.
Sure. Well, in any case, with the site plan, David, they showed it before. So I'm not sure why it's not sharing, but you're on Eastern Avenue here, and this district would allow you to be even closer as far as distance from the street, because they don't have any adjacent dwellings on either side. So you're not calculating maximum building envelope based on adjacent dwellings, but rather on the base zoning. But a lot of these that we see for development that are on the south side of Eastern or Riverside when it's closer to the city, they are larger complexes like done as a development that have typically on the south side of Eastern or Riverside, a lot of these have rear access garages. So they in other words, they often have a T kind of thing that fans out behind, and they access the different dwellings with easements. That's because DOTE has strongly encouraged them to try to have the rear access parking, so you don't have people all pulling off onto Eastern Avenue. In this instance, that's obviously not possible, because if you were to try to have a rear entry garage here, you'd have an enormous retaining wall behind this property, and that's not something that we would want at all, right? It wouldn't be good development, and you'd have a far greater relief here. So the only way for them to have a conceivably safe way to exit and enter their driveway, especially exiting their garage, is to have this more substantial, at least 20 foot front yard setback, and for them also to have this little bump out that is on their site plan. We determined it does not constitute front yard parking. It's the minimum they can have just to have a turnaround. So that if you had, for example, an SUV parked in the garage, you could do like a K-turn and turn that thing around and safely exit. And it's not just the safety of the homeowner here of the McDonald's that's here. It's also Eastern Avenue is extremely highly trafficked street. It's also by bicycles as well, and of course there's a sidewalk there. And so in talking with them, they did have a larger driveway before, but they've reduced it down to the amount that gets it to the minimum to be able to turn around and basically have public safety respected here, which DOT has kind of worked with us in all of the coordinated site review things to really emphasize that along Eastern Avenue. In fact, there was a local attorney killed not long ago, 6 months ago or so, on Eastern Avenue. So it's a lot going on with pedestrian and vehicular and bicycle traffic along that corridor. So I'm just explaining that's part of the reason they'd have to tuck this back into the hillside further, is to have that adequate way to come out of the driveway. You couldn't be at 5 feet or 10 feet from the road and be safe. I think that I just wanted to emphasize that, because it's a common theme along Eastern Avenue and Riverside, is that safety issue, and development needs to follow suit. So otherwise, like I said, it fits completely within the building envelope, and this is the minimum excavation necessary to get the house back far enough that you can have the driveway and to allow that elevator to reach all floors.
Okay, great. Thank you, Trey.
You're welcome.
Okay. Let's see. Any response, Mr. Fleming or Mr. Studer?
No, I appreciate Trey going into that explanation for the driveway. I kind of omitted to get into that, but that is obviously critical in this use of this home for the McDonald's to be able to get out of the driveway safely and have enough room to maybe maneuver the car around rather than be forced to back right out on Eastern Avenue. That was definitely part of the decision making in setting the house 24 feet from the sidewalk or from the front yard, rather than as close as we possibly could be.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't really have many questions here, guys. It doesn't look like there's any cliff-like vertical slopes or excessively high retaining walls here. Looks like it fits into the hillside. The testimony is consistent with what I've seen in the application. And so, any remarks in closing or otherwise here before we adjourn?
I don't have any. Henry, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Okay. Yeah, well, let's just leave it at that then. I'm going to approve this, guys. I need to type up that approval and
Sorry, I work in a school.
no problem. I need to type up that approval in a written decision. I've got a little bit of a queue here, and so that usually takes about 2 weeks. I will, as soon as I finish that, I put it into a PDF. I email it to everybody that's in the hearing today. And so you guys will have a copy of that just moments after it's complete. As soon as that's done, you can work with Trey, who will also receive a copy on any necessary permitting. If you have any questions in the meantime, or if you'd like a status update on the decision, where I'm at with it, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to answer any questions or to give you that update. Yeah, any other questions now?
You're saying you are tentatively approving it, but we will get written confirmation of that. Is that correct?
Correct. So yeah, I'm telling you for the purposes of planning or just peace of mind that I am going to approve this, but it won't be official until you receive my written decision, which will come in about 2 weeks.
That's fine. We're anxious to get this construction drawing started, and we were waiting for the variance. So we will be starting actually today on the actual drawings, hoping to get it in for permit before the end of the year. So we're going to be working tight, but we'll get your letter hopefully before that, or it'll all come together when we get it in for permit.
About 2 weeks. You'll get it before the end of the year, certainly. And then
Okay.
as soon as Trey has that, then he can press go on the permitting.
Yeah, it's pretty much a rubber stamp for me at that point, but you just make sure you're tight on your drawings, because if you're looking in that timeline, the building plan examiner will need time, of course, to do, if any revisions need to be proposed for that, you should just be prepared for that, because they do have 15 days for their review. So
I understand that. We just figured if we can get it in, at least get it in for permit, we'll beat the end of the year deadline.
sure. Understood.
Okay, great.
Okay, thanks everybody. Appreciate your time and your testimony here today. Hope you all have a wonderful day. We're adjourned.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, everyone.